Today's case examines the horrific murder of a 93-year-old woman that lived on East Summers Street in Eaton, Ohio. The case was an odd one, as it was over before it had even begun. The victim was found in the bathtub and had died by drowning. The killer was the same person who had reported it. As the investigation began, the major question wasn't who killed this woman, because the murderer had turned herself in. So, with the killer's identity out of the way, the burning question for the detectives was why? Why was the victim's killer her very own granddaughter? This is the ghastly case of Heidi Matheny. Before we start, we would like to send our deepest sympathies to the loved ones of Alice J. Matheny. The 15th of November 2022 was a day just like any other in Eaton, Ohio. It was a Tuesday and the skies were a bit cloudy due to the late November fall. Apart from the weather, everything was fine, at least for most of the inhabitants of Eaton. Unbeknownst to anyone, a ghastly tragedy was about to happen to a particular resident who lived at apartment number 3 in the 300 block of East Summers Street. Her name was Alice J. Matheny, and she was 93 years of age. Alice had spent much of her day as she usually did, with her granddaughter, Heidi Matheny. Heidi lived about 4 minutes away at number 35 310 West Spring Street in Eaton, and she often visited her grandmother. This time, Heidi took her grandmother out to get some ice cream. Their visits primarily consisted of Alice complaining about her many problems while Heidi would sit and listen. Soon after that, they returned to Alice's home. When the visit was nearing its end, Alice stood up to wash the dishes. She filled a sink with warm soapy water, and as she leaned over the sink, Alice suddenly felt a strong hand forcing her head down into the water. There were absolutely no records of a quarrel, a disagreement, or a fight earlier in the day, but for some bizarre reason, Heidi, her granddaughter, had decided to drown her in the kitchen sink. Alice struggled and fought to be free, but Heidi firmly held her down as Alice gasped for air. The struggle ended once Alice became motionless. Heidi then took her grandmother's face out of the sink and she dragged her body to the couch. As she laid there, Heidi noticed some spittle, or bubbles as she called it, forming at her grandmother's mouth. Heidi assumed that Alice might still be alive, so she took the extra step to ensure that Alice was dead. Heidi started by going to the bathroom to fill the bathtub with water. When the tub was full, she dragged Alice's body to the bathroom, removed her clothes, and placed her in the tub in a bid to properly drown her. Heidi had placed Alice's motionless body face up, so she pressed down on her grandmother's chest to keep her submerged. However, Alice's body kept floating to the top. Heidi held Alice in the tub for 15 minutes to make sure she didn't survive. With her grandmother now lying dead in the bathtub, Heidi climbed out of the bathroom window and walked to a police station to tell them about the horrific atrocity she had just committed.
So what's going on?
Yeah, probably. I feel like I put the dog down.
Heidi had arrived at the Preble County Sheriff's Office around 5:55 p.m. She told them that she had killed her grandmother in her apartment. When the officer, Sergeant Eversole, arrived and started questioning Heidi in the station's lobby, the first statement she made was, "I feel like I put the dog down."
So, this is your mother, your grandmother. Is it on your mother's side or your father's side?
My father's side.
Your father's side? So, what happened today to lead to this?
Nothing special. It's just a day like every other day. We went to the doctor yesterday, and the doctor said that we could put her into a nursing home because that's what she wants. But we can't afford that. It's $289 a day. Her insurance won't cover it because she owns a house, but her sons are fighting over it, and it's freaking condemned almost. It's a fucking nightmare. And I'm sick of seeing her. She's stressed out. She has panic attacks every damn day. She shouldn't have to live like that.
Okay.
Correctional address is 325.
So,
325.
so you decided to take her life today.
That's what I did.
Okay.
Right along with Eaton.
And you did it by just drowning her, correct? Okay, so what time did this happen?
Maybe an hour ago, hour and a half ago.
Did you walk up here?
I did.
Okay. We'll try to turn these guys out just a little bit here. Who else lives in that apartment?
Her son lives next door with his girlfriend, and then her kids live in the other apartments.
So who lives in apartment 3? Is that your apartment?
That's just her apartment.
That's her apartment. She owns a house.
And a cat.
And a cat. Okay. And nobody else was present during this?
No.
Okay. So why did you do it? Do you know?
Because she keeps calling me that. She keeps calling me. And she wants me to sit there and listen with her and just every day. And I do it every day. But I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna kill myself. That's where I'm at. I almost went with her, but I can't drown myself.
Okay. So you started in the bathroom sink.
In the kitchen sink.
In the kitchen sink. Was she just standing there?
Yeah.
And you
She was doing dishes.
doing dishes, and you just came up from behind her and just put her head in the sink. And when you said you did that until she quit blowing bubbles, and then you moved her onto the couch, but you thought maybe she wasn't dead at that time, so then you took her into the bathroom tub. Was there water in the bathtub already?
No.
Did you run bath?
I did.
And so where was your grandmother at while you were running the bath water?
On the couch.
On a couch. Okay. So after you filled up the water, how much water did you put in there?
Full bathtub.
Bathtub. And then did you carry her to the bathroom? Okay. And then what happened?
I held her there for what I thought was 15 minutes. And
Face up or face down?
Face down.
Face down. Was her whole body in the tub or just part of it? Okay. And then what happened after that?
I left and came here.
Okay, so she's in the bathtub right now. Is that correct? Ms. Matheny? Okay. All right. Is there anything you want to add to it? Okay.
While they proceeded with their questioning, other Preble County officers were quickly making their way to Alice Matheny's home. The officers arrived at the scene around 6 p.m. to find a deceased Alice J. Matheny lying in the bathtub. The crime scene was examined, and the forensic team took items that included a jitterbug cell phone, a holiday throw, pink slippers, kitchen utensils, a white teacup, knives, and plastic storage containers. An autopsy revealed that Alice had a fractured sternum and rib, as well as multiple bruises on her neck and arms. Detectives stated the fractured sternum and rib were caused during the struggle, and the bruises on the neck and arm were caused when Heidi was forcefully holding her down in the kitchen sink. After thoroughly investigating the crime scene, the officers made their way back to the station to carry out a proper interrogation. Heidi had already given a brief statement during the initial questioning, citing the fact that she'd just had enough and didn't want to take care of her grandmother anymore. They believed there was some sort of aggravation or fight that led to the unfortunate outcome, and they hoped that the interrogation would reveal just that. The interrogation began with the officer getting Heidi to recall the murder.
I don't know. After we ate ice cream, she went up to do dishes. She offered to do the dishes. She usually does if I cook.
You're at the sink, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I just lost my shit.
Okay. Now let me ask you, what? I'll give you a moment. Okay. We got tissues and.
had this and those if you need them.
Okay.
I didn't find any others, I'm sorry.
It's nothing that she did. She's not she's a perfect freaking grandma.
Uh-huh. Okay. And so she wasn't nagging at you or anything, she just had her back to you doing the dishes, correct? Okay. And where were you standing at?
Right next to her.
Right next to her, to the right or to the left of her?
I think it was to her left.
Okay. And so, how full was the sink?
It was full.
Full?
I filled it up the rest of the way.
Okay. So you put more water in it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so why did you put more water in it?
Because while I was doing it, the thing moved, and then I
And so you
saw that there was no water, and
Yeah.
then I just instead of building up.
Okay, I got you. So, how do you have her? You have her
By the hair.
by the hair?
And then I
Okay.
picked her up, and I put her on the counter, and I put her in the water.
So, let's back up real quick, okay? Let's try to maintain our composure, okay? Because I want to get the absolute correct story from you, okay? So, you're to the left of her, and then how did the idea just come into your head? Do you remember?
I just,
Okay. And so, you grabbed her by the hair, and then you pushed her head under the water, and the water started running out. And so you physically started putting more water in there, correct? And what kind of struggle? Was she struggling?
she was struggling.
Okay.
She's strong.
Did you strike her or anything like that? You didn't? No? You just was able to overpower her and hold her under the water?
Mm.
Okay. And then you held her under the water until when? How long did you hold her head under the water?
Maybe 5-10 minutes.
5 or 10 minutes at the
It
sink?
was a while.
At the sink? Okay. Well, did you notice if any bubbles were still coming out, or?
That's why I tried,
And so then after that, you took her and did you drag her to the couch, or did you pick her
I
up?
picked her up and I
And laid her on the couch. Okay. And then what?
She started bubbling.
Okay. So she was breathing again at that point?
I
or?
think so.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So, okay, so we were talking about, she's on the couch, and then you thought that she was still breathing, right?
Mm.
And so what was going through your head at that point?
That was,
maybe we could stop this?
no,
or-
I wanted her to be at rest.
Okay. So it was your intention at that point, while she was laying on the couch, and you thought that she possibly could still be alive, to go ahead and continue doing what she was doing. Okay. All right. Did she make any movement or anything like that? Just bubbles out of her mouth and nose. Okay. Was it water coming out or was it air? You don't remember? Okay. Was she raising her hands any or anything like that? She was just laying still? Okay. And so after that, so she's still on the couch, right? And then you go into do you get the idea to the bathtub? Okay. I don't want to lead you on this. This is what I've been told.
I feel like I got led on last night with my little interview.
Oh. Okay, I don't know what's going on with that, but so
Paranoia.
okay. Well, let's just stay on this, okay? So you go into the bathroom and tell me what happened in the bathroom. You're in there by
I filled
yourself.
up the water.
Okay.
I drug her at that point, and
How much water did you put in?
I filled it, I think.
Okay.
I unclothed her. I don't know why I took her clothes off, put her in the bathtub. But I took her clothes off and I put her in the bathtub.
Okay.
And I just held her there.
Was she struggling at that time? And
She was not conscious.
Okay, none of that. She was conscious.
Okay. And so you stated that you held her under the water for what, 15 minutes or so?
15 minutes.
Okay. And what hand did you hold her under with?
Both.
Both hands? All right. And so were you
Well, she was
Were you just holding her?
up, so
Okay.
I had to
so you pushed her all the way down, or just kind of held her head under the water?
held her chest.
Okay, so when you had her under the water, was she face down or was she?
She was face up.
Face
and
up.
then I rolled her over.
Okay. I got you. So as you were holding her under the water, you were holding her down by her chest, correct?
Mm.
Okay. And then was there any struggle under the water at that point?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I noticed she did have some scratches, but that's probably from getting her into the bathtub.
Okay.
Just that metal rack.
Okay.
And then you said you rolled her face down while she's in the tub?
Mm.
Okay. And why did you do that?
Because I left.
I mean, why did you roll her over though?
Because she kept floating back to the top.
Okay. Why was the window open?
Because that's where I went left. Out the window.
Why'd you leave out the window?
Because I didn't want anybody to see me leave. Because I wanted to come straight here.
You'd notice during her recollection that Heidi is rocking back and forth at intervals. Heidi's rocking isn't random, as studies from neuroscience experts have revealed that this behavior could be a sign of a more serious mental health condition, such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, depression, or obsessive-compulsive disorder. These studies also state that rocking back and forth can be a warning sign or a reaction to mental distress, as most people with mental health disorders may exhibit this behavior. Experts believe the rocking motion is a self-soothing mechanism. Sometimes this movement might seem excessive, just like it was during the interrogation, as if it had no real purpose. However, detectives and investigators would later confirm that Heidi had been struggling with mental illness. Apparently, Heidi had also received a telehealth call the night before regarding her mental health. These mental health issues also ran in the family. Both her mother, Holly, and her grandmother, Alice, had suffered from these issues. After a deep background check, it was discovered that these mental health disorders played a significant role in the domestic dispute complaint on Heidi's criminal background, a disorderly conduct conviction that stemmed from an incident involving her mother, who, as stated before, also suffers from mental illness. Some detectives strongly believe that Heidi's mental health condition caused her erratic behavior. During the interrogation, it was clear that Heidi loved Alice, referring to her as the perfect grandmother. However, the question still remained: why kill the perfect grandmother? As I said earlier, the authorities weren't convinced that the story Heidi had told them about being tired of taking care of her was the complete story. The detectives speculated there must have been another angle to this incident. They also believed that the act must have been premeditated or instigated due to an aggravation, and they focused on that in the following minutes of the interrogation.
So did you have intention to do this ever before you went over there?
I will admit that, like, me and her have discussed it. Like, she's like come to me, and it was the point of hysteria. So, like, I dismissed it, and I kept dismissing it. She would be crying, having panic attacks, and she'd just kill me. And, like, it's like, you know, we I don't know, we all say that, but we had had that emotional distress conversation. I mean, I know I'm a fucking nut, but, like, she gets upset too. Like, it's
right.
Stressful. And,
well, I understand.
And I felt like she was, and this crossed my mind too. One day I was walking down the street and there's this dog, and it's a white old dog, and it reminds me of her hair. Mm-hmm. And I lived in Tucson at the time, and it was bobbing in and out of traffic on a 5-lane freeway. I'm sitting there at the bus stop. Mm-hmm. So I run across the street and I pick up this dog, and it's biting at me and snapping at me because it's scared to death. I take it home with me, and it's got diarrhea, it's dehydrated, it's sick, it's been stranded in Tucson, there's no humidity. So I take this dog to the vet, and the vet said that dog was just really old, and it probably left his home to go die. Like, that's probably what it did. So that's what I was thinking too, it's like she's just...
So were you thinking that before you went over there? That you needed to do this?
No, not
okay.
Before I went over.
Okay.
Like I said, we were just going to sit down and eat ice cream, and then it just, bam.
Just popped in your head.
Just like, and...
Had you ever thought about doing this particular thing to her prior to this? I mean, had you
I've never thought about doing this to her, no.
Okay.
But now that I'm laying in there thinking about it, I'm thinking of all the little situations that led me up to this. And I just don't want to be here anymore.
What do you mean by the situations that led you up to this?
Like the dog.
The dog.
And then last night's interview, like, I just thought about that, and, like, all the little things, like...
And who did you say that was with? Social Security?
Yeah. That was the last question they asked me.
That's an odd question. Heidi, you
not wanting to harm yourself, are you?
I don't want to be here anymore.
Okay. So now, let me ask you this, okay? I'll give you a couple minutes there, okay? Is there anything else that you think I need to know about what that situation happened?
I don't think so.
Okay. Have you been aggravated with her?
I'm not aggravated with her. I'm aggravated at the situation. She's got her son living next door, and the
What's his name?
Rusty.
Rusty.
And then there's little Paisley. She's the maddest little brat that's filthy. And it's like she goes in and out of the house, and she sits like my grandma as a princess. She was raised as a pretty, pretty princess. Her whole life, she's been well taken care of, wealthy, all those things.
Yeah.
And she's got all this trash that all of a sudden shows up and moves in next door and comes walking in and out of her house, sitting all over shit, and it drives her up the wall. And she can't protect herself. She can't tell them to leave. She can't do anything, and it drives her crazy, and it drives me nuts because I just want to like kick everybody out. But as soon as I leave, they're all right back in. And like the look on his face, he's so proud to do that to her. And it's fucking psychotic.
And do you live with anybody?
I live with her other son and my mom on Spring Street, and that's her house. And that like,
who's your mom?
They've overrun her.
What's your mom's name?
Holly.
Holly.
Matheny.
Holly Matheny. Okay. I got you.
It's just, I feel like I'm in hell.
During investigations, it was also revealed that Heidi had gone with Alice on a doctor's appointment the day before the murder. They were both told that Alice needed to go into a nursing home, which was what Alice wanted, but no one in the family could afford it, and Alice's insurance wouldn't cover it. At this point, Heidi knew she was going to be stuck taking care of Alice for the rest of her life. The weight of it all became overwhelming for Heidi, pushing her to a breaking point. In a moment of despair, Heidi made the dreadful choice to take Alice's life, believing it to be a mercy killing. Even when the officer tried to see if Heidi had any form of regret by asking her what her thoughts were after leaving the bathroom, Heidi stood by what she said.
After you was walking out of the bathroom, what was your realization when you walked out of the bathroom?
That she's just at peace. That she doesn't have to deal with this shit anymore.
When you say she's at peace, did you have the realization that she was
I hope
alive?
so. I hope so. And I hate that I feel that way. Like, I hate that I feel that way.
Well, I understand that, and I'm trying not to get you upset, but when I asked the question that, when you say that you knew that she was at peace, did you understood that she was no longer alive, is that correct?
I hope so.
You hoped so, okay. And that was your intention, was to take her life? Okay. All right. And that was why you took her into the bathroom after she was on, because you didn't want to leave her alive on the couch, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
With those statements, the case was closed. No matter how hard the officers tried to find another motive or reason behind the murder, Heidi was telling the truth. She was just tired of the situation, and with her mental illness, she felt like it was the best way out to do what she did. There have been numerous studies on the hardships people face when they suffer from mental health and low income. These studies also state that despite the high need for mental health services, children, adults, and families living in low income or poverty are least likely to be connected with high-quality mental health care. Many believe all this was a significant factor that influenced the tragic events that happened that Tuesday night. Perhaps if Heidi and Alice could have afforded proper care as they both desperately needed, Alice, a woman who many have described as loving and kind, wouldn't have died that day. After her booking, Heidi was placed on a suicide watch until she saw a counselor. With investigations coming to a close, all Heidi had to do now was wait for an already doomed trial. Heidi had already confessed to the murder of her own free will, and she was ready to face the consequences. She also didn't want a lawyer, but the state issued her one anyway. Her lawyer was Gracia Hubler. Some media outlets stated that Heidi tried to plead not guilty at the initial stages of the trial, but that was false, as Heidi always stated that she was guilty. However, reports state that her lawyer, Miss Hubler, had pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity on her behalf on the 9th of December 2022. During this time, Heidi was transferred to the Summit Behavioral Health in Cincinnati to receive a forensic psychological evaluation due to the insanity plea. It was here Heidi awaited her indictment. After the evaluation was complete, the presiding judge, Mr. Stephen Bruns, declared Heidi Matheny competent for trial in January of 2023. As pretrial was set for the 2nd of March 2023, with the trial to begin on the 13th of the same month, Judge Bruns had set her bond at $500,000. Heidi Matheny changed her plea to guilty on the 3rd of March 2023. She had already spent 121 days behind bars before finally hearing the verdict of her actions. The Matheny family was in the courtroom for the video sentencing, but they did not speak. Reports state that the family felt like they were losing two members at once, and they didn't want to give any statements. Heidi herself gave no statement before sentencing, and neither did her attorney. On Wednesday, the 15th of March 2023, Heidi Matheny was sentenced to life in prison in the Preble County Common Pleas Court, with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Justice had been served, but it left a bitter taste in the mouths of the affected parties, as both the victim and her murderer were part of the same family. This tragic case baffled the entire city of Eaton, Ohio. Even after the investigation, many people struggled to see any viable reason why she killed Alice. The answers Heidi gave weren't enough to warrant the heinous murder of her grandmother. They believe her actions were just selfish and monstrous. The Preble County prosecuting attorney, Martin Votel, gave a final statement of the case, saying,
Matheny, the grandmother, the victim, was 93 years of age, a sweet old lady, and her granddaughter brutally murdered her. And to this day, the granddaughter has never been able to consistently explain to my satisfaction or the satisfaction of law enforcement why this happened and why she felt that she needed to do that. So it really is the definite.
If you or someone you know is suffering from mental health problems or a suicidal crisis, call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Hotline. The 988 Lifeline provides 24/7 confidential support to people in suicidal crisis or mental health-related distress. Remember, there is hope, and you are not alone. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like the video, comment down below your take on it, and please subscribe to the channel. Less than half of those folks who watch our videos are subscribers. It only takes a moment, and it's free, and it helps us continue to bring you great true crime content. Also, hit the notification bell in order to stay up to date each time we reveal a new shocking case. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's lurking in the shadows.